Welcome everyone to our June LifeWave Connect business webinar. It's my pleasure. My name is Gerrit Johnson, and I'm the U.S. country manager. It's my pleasure to be here with you today to be able to go through what I consider to be a very important topic, and that is the idea and the concept of heart-to-heart leadership. Last month, I should say, we had an opportunity to talk about heart-to-heart sales and how do we really connect with those we're trying to introduce to the products and introduce to the business. But now that we got going through that, we want to talk about now, as we've started to build a business and we started to build our own organizations, how do we have that heart-to-heart connection with those in our teams? And how do we show that leadership, in a sense of that heart with that heart-to-heart connection? And I think as we go through today, everyone's going to get a great feeling, a great understanding of what that all means. So thank you all for being here, and we're certainly thrilled that you're here with us to be able to talk about a very important topic. But before I go any further, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker with us today. This gentleman has actually probably done more than most in the company with regards to building leaders. He has 5 leaders that have reached the level of presidential director or above, which by itself is pretty amazing. But the number of executive directors and senior directors and managers and directors in his whole organization is absolutely incredible. And so that's what the reasons why we wanted to bring him on, is because he has built so many top level leaders that we felt like he would certainly be able to give us some advice and some tips in what he does to help as he brings in these new leaders to build them up to a level where they can start leading their own teams. And so it's my pleasure to introduce everyone to our Senior Presidential Director, Peter No. So Peter, thanks for being on with us today.
Gerrit, thank you for the invite. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on here with you today and to be in front of all our LifeWave brand partners.
Well, and you've had over 18 years experience in this industry. And as you built, within other companies, and now that you're here, we're certainly looking forward to being able to listen in on some of the things that you've done to be able to take your knowledge, from those others' experiences and now bring them here. And of course, what you've been able to do here in a very short period of time, I think you've been with us just under 3 years, and to get to the level of SPD and building many people on your own team to be able to get to that level is nothing short of amazing. So when we talk about that kind of heart-to-heart leadership, and in that context of how that works within LifeWave, and what would you tell people is your key to success there?
That's in September, it'll be my 4th year, Gerrit. So
there you go.
4 years now. So I call it almost the graduation time if we're talking about college terms. But we graduate pretty early in our first year. But to answer that question, really what makes this company a heart-to-heart, our cultural heart-to-heart, we all know that it starts from the top down. And it literally started with David. When I first came in September of 2019, and I just watched his first video, Gerrit, when I resonated with David's message, his vision, and then when I looked at and did my research on the company, and I was asking, how come no one knew about this company? Why has this company been such under the radar? And you can literally tell because David has never been a network marketing CEO, where he has never done, I call it kind of bad behaviors in the industry. He's never done the bigger events that where it attracted just the wrong, leaders into this company. It's really been under the radar, and because the technology was way too far-fetched of its time, we all understood where, why this company laid so low. But when Marcy and I came in here and we discovered this company, and when we saw the messaging behind it, and we saw the simplicity of the technology, the exclusivity of this technology, and we saw how he broke down the compensation plan, which we're going to go into, and how you can literally just help, in simple terms, 3 generations of leaders, Gerrit, that really caught my eye. I knew that this company was pure, organic, and David's vision is literally to give people back their health, but really learn how to build wealth at the same time. And when Marcy and I saw that back in September of 2019, and 50,000 members now later, all we wanted to do is just, our purpose was really to build the most organic, fun organization that we have never met. But we never knew our success. We could not predict it, Gerrit, at that moment in time, but we just had our own purpose coming into this organization at that time.
I love that. And I love the fact that you talked about the importance of kind of David being that leader, because it was the same for me. The reasons why I came to LifeWave, and the reasons why I've stayed at LifeWave is because of David and because of that heart-to-heart connections I've had with him, and the experiences that I've had with him and the times that I've been here has really helped me to kind of want to stay connected to it, because I believe in what he's trying to achieve and I believe in the technology. And so seeing all that has certainly helped me to have that same type of connection. And of course, within my role here is a U.S. country manager, it's my opportunity as well to have that, hopefully have that heart-to-heart connection with our top leaders also. And, certainly have had so many great conversations with you and some of our other leaders, and seeing what we've been able to accomplish here has been nothing short of amazing due to the experience that you've had. Now, in coming into LifeWave, you had 15 years experience, I believe, before you came to LifeWave. And as you started at LifeWave, what are some of those aha moments, those things that kind of stood out to you that were maybe a little bit different than what you've seen in the past?
As I mentioned before, the vision of David, that is the number one thing, okay? But I've been in the industry for over 18 years. I have literally been with nutrition companies, beauty companies, technology companies. I've had a chance to travel all around the world, meet all kind of cultures, every leadership style, every compensation plan you can think of. The one thing that I love about LifeWave and how it has kept its purity, it never taught what I call posturing. It never had to kind of show off kind of convince people to why they need to join us, because I believe the light and the culture has inspired people to just be attracted here. That was my aha moment. And how did I find that out? When I first went to the January 20th, 2020 Las Vegas convention, and I met the leaders, the SPDs from around the world, who they were. And there were still SPDs here that still had been with David, I guess, 15, 14, 13 years ago. That's how you can check the heartbeat of the company. If your oldest leaders are still here, still holding the flag, still building the business. And that to me was my first aha moment. And the second thing is, when I'm a compensation guy, I'm a numbers guy. And when I realized that how many doors, Gerrit, you have to open here to earn, what is the behavior of the comp plan? Even going down to the auto ship, just to have a personal requirement of 110 PV to maximize the compensation plan, to have a gold package, just a $499 package, to be able to maximize the comp plan. That showed to me that David is not a greedy CEO. He literally wants everyone to participate into the growth of this company. And when the X39 came out in 2018, that was, I guess, our time to shine the technology, and the word stem cell activation just piqued everybody's ears. And what Marcy and I did is we just learned how to take that message and made it simpler and simpler every day. And just the aha moment is just, wow, I could not believe for the first time in my career that there was actually a company that not only said it was simple to do, but they proved it through the culture, through the compensation plan. And now we are the living proof, because we have developed so many people that have came into our organization that have no experience in the industry, Gerrit, and has made a lifestyle change utilizing and partner up with LifeWave.
I love that. And there's so many little tidbits there that I think are really important that, that you shared, that low entry cost. People can get in and get started, and we're not talking about astronomical amounts. And you don't have to maintain astronomical amounts to be able to get full benefit from the compensation plan, which I think is a bit unique, because there are other options out there that are obviously maybe a little bit higher than that. And so that's something that I think also I also noticed when I came in is there's so many little things like that are just by themselves are kind of like, oh, that's good to see, but when you see them as a group of things that are all part of it, certainly then starts to tell a story about the type of company that David's wanted to build and why he's built it how he is. Now, when you came in, so you started in did you say August of 2019?
September. Marcy started in August. I started in September.
Okay, so you started in September of 2019. So not long after you got started, we went into the pandemic. And of course, as we kind of mentioned, as we talked about a little bit before we hopped on today, that kind of went through one of those interesting time periods in our history, really. And I'm talking about the world history, not just LifeWave. But a lot of companies saw a lot of growth during that time. But as we've come out of that, we found that there's many places have struggled in order to try to keep up with, what is making the difference, what's making the change, and what's creating that growth. And I think there's still a lot of companies out there still struggling through that process. What was the difference for you? How did you evolve in that time frame to be able to continue to see that growth even after the pandemic was over and we started and where everyone else is starting to struggle?
Oh, that's a great question. And we're still scratching our heads every day, Gerrit, on how we transitioned into that. But, Marcy and I, before the pandemic, we literally reached presidential directors and senior presidential directors in January and February of 2020. We thought we were going to throw the biggest party and celebrate through March and throughout the whole year. And then in March of 2020, we were locked down. From that moment, because I literally I had a download, okay? I was like, how are we going to build this business? Because we were still doing it the traditional old way, meaning belly to belly, having events, driving around, doing a couple of meetings here and there, Gerrit. But we went to the top because, number one, the technology was so simple, and Marcy and I started to learn how to message it. But once we locked down, we could not see people to people anymore, and there was so much fear in the air. All I did is I downloaded this message, and I was like, since this patch is so simple to message, since it is literally just Band-Aids in a sleeve, and the company, remember, David Schmidt manufactures his own product. He makes his own ingredients. And I knew that this, we didn't have an issue with that. All my mind was thinking, Gerrit, how do I expose this? So we called all our leaders, and because we trusted each other, because we all came together from different gyms, and because our leaders trust us, Gerrit, they followed us, okay? When we worked together, all we said is, I was like, let's do this. Let's create a 7-day testimonial patching podcast, meaning that for 30 minutes a day, Gerrit, all we did is our whole community got together and we started sharing testimonials online. And I believe, Gerrit, because of the closeness, because of the communication, because every day we were literally in touch with people that joined us, their first people that joined us. So we kept on building generations after generations after generations, and we kept our message so simple, and we kept our building style so pure because we never mentioned money claims, income claims. We never postured into the industry. We just literally kept it so pure with technology. Talk to the person that invited you here on this information and learn and just plug in with our simple one-style system. And that kept us going. And if you can look at the records from March, April, May, throughout the first 12 months, the hardest first 12 years, We have developed over 500 calls during that time. And that's how our system developed, Gerrit. So in simple terms, we stayed in touch. We developed a daily communication podcast where everyone that became a manager, became a director, became a senior director, and we developed ranks, and our new teams constantly saw organic growth every single day, Gerrit. Everybody knew what to do, and I believe that built our nucleus, and that was our first year. And now, 3 years later, after the after the shutdown, we now in our archive have over thousands and thousands of stories, health stories and wealth stories that everyone can look up to. All our individual leaders all have created their own stories. How do we know? Because today we have over 52 executives, presidentials, and senior presidentials in our organization. And you know how that will spider off, right? Gerrit, 52 that leads to 50,000 is a lot of people that you can create stories from. So it's been the most beautiful build I've ever experienced, and Marcy and I have ever experienced. And the one thing, again, that kept us together is our organic build, our organic message, and we just love to have fun. And we kept all the ego, all the stuff that the industry has seen. We just try to keep this as pure as possible forever.
You know, I love a lot what you shared there, because I think there's a couple of key elements, and you know, one of the things you talked to Ben is staying in touch. So you kept in that connection, even though maybe some of those traditional things you had been doing, which were specifically belly to belly, trying to get to meetings and spending time with people, now all of a sudden it's not possible. So then you tried finding different ways, and it was daily connections, but maybe it was now through Zoom and other methods to be able to do that. But what I love is you kept it simple. You kept the simplicity of a simple system, and then you taught duplication through that system, and then you taught them the consistency of it. But you didn't just teach them the consistency by saying, hey, you should all be consistent, but you did it because you stayed connected every single day, and you showed them this is what we're doing to invest in you. And now it then teaches them to follow. Because the reality is that the term in and of itself can sometimes get people funny, but you know, they say monkey see, monkey do, right? Yeah. But the reality is your team will follow what they watch you do. You know, and so if you're following the system, you're teaching the system, and they can see you doing it, then of course the chances of them following are pretty significantly higher when they're actually watching it in practice. And so I think a lot of what you've been able to show, and the way at least what you've been able to explain, I think it does lead to that concept of, you know, you can start to see when people stay consistent long enough that they start to get this growth curve that is almost unheard of. It's one of those things too where people are like, oh, overnight success, but the reality is it's not overnight. It may look overnight, but it took me 10 years to get to overnight success, if that makes sense. Or, and so that's where I think it's kind of fun to watch, you know, your type of experience and everyone else's, because what's perceived as one thing really is, you know, but anyway, it's really exciting to be able to see, you know, that kind of growth, but also to see how the success follows good, consistent principles. So I want to kind of shift a little bit, but actually before I shift, I want to ask one more question, and that is, you mentioned something in there, and this concept of I want to stay connected with the people that I enroll, and then you also talked about the importance of connecting with those. How do you go about making sure that everyone in your team has a connection with somebody, that the person that enrolled them, or that has that, so that community stays consistent throughout?
That's a really great question. And that goes into kind of a duplication style, because Marcy and I want everyone to imagine you're joining a gym. And the gym has schedules, right, Gerrit? They have the yoga schedule, Pilates schedule, swimming schedules. I want everyone to know that when Marcy and I created the schedule, we literally work out. Every day we're our team can see us literally work with our teams. When we started developing our SPDs and PDs, they create their own schedules, meaning they don't create anything new, but they're just staying in touch on a weekly basis, Gerrit. So you just literally have a bigger gym, and then you have little private gyms. And those bigger gyms that are communicating with the leaders in the private gyms, and then those private gyms, again, we're teaching just simple behaviors and skill sets, like the 3-3-3, like the peak pre-qualifying packages. Like we just teach people how to do small things on a consistent basis where we're not overwhelming our brand new partners. We're not giving them more responsibilities by creating new flyers or new things that they don't need to. We're not burning them out by having them travel, do hotel meetings, do stuff that kind of on a weekly basis that can burn brand new people out. And then when we literally tell our brand new people, hey, when you join and you have new partners join, bring them to meet our gym members, our bodybuilders. And then when they get to meet our PDs, EDs, PDs, SPDs, and then they actually go onto our website and they get to see a video of Marcy, a video of Peter, a video of Dr. Stacy, April, Savi, Dr. Harmons, get it? All our leaders, and then our brand new people, they put the two and two together like, how can this team be communicating at such this level? How come they feel like they're so close and they're all doing the same thing? It's because our whole model here is, Gerrit, not one person does it all, but all of us do one. Not one person is responsible for the whole system, but all of us are responsible for this one system. You can tell through our Facebook pages, you can tell through our Telegram pages that we literally self-regulate each other. There is nobody posting anything they shouldn't be posting because somebody would call it out. There's nobody doing anything else outside of just communicating, rewarding, and recognizing on all our pages. And that is now a yes, yes, yes community. Yes, we can show you this. Yes, we can prove this. Yes, we have leadership. Yes, we have results. Yes, we have built this. So do you get it? Like constantly, if people see that and not in the ones and twos, we're not a yo-yo. We don't push ranks every month, every week. We just organically go through it. We don't take pressure. We take off pressures of leaders. And that's why, Gerrit, you're seeing so many new leaders from other companies when they look at our system and they're just blown away. They're like, I can't believe I can continue this with doing less work. And now, jumping on the stem cell activation trend and the revolution of it, and people can just merge and transition into our community because it's so simple, so organic. And that's how we've been just building our first, second, third generation. And Gerrit, that's why when brand new people come see us, they can physically say, I can benefit from this technology. I can do this business. And it's worth my time to do this business because I've seen other people already open up the doors to this.
I love that. I love the idea too that it doesn't matter where they are in the organization, they always have three people that are going to be reaching out to them, wanting to work with them, to support them. And so that it doesn't matter where you're at, there's always someone there to help. And that it's being taught from the top down. Everyone has their three levels. I'm going to work with my 1, 2, 3 generations. And therefore, everyone is going to have at least 3 people in the upline that's going to be focusing on making sure that they're successful. And I think, again, that's how we create that heart-to-heart connection, is because we know everyone is being taken care of. We have a simple system that people can follow. And so I love that concept that that nobody's left behind. As they say, you're in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. You always have someone to work with. Now, you mentioned having a unified approach within the team. Could you explain what you mean and how that contributes to the overall success?
So to have a unified approach, number one, you have to have a system. You have to have a duplicated way when somebody comes in Number one, manage their expectation. Ask exactly what is expected of them. So that's why when Marcy and I teach, who are you? What's your background, right? What compelled you to join LifeWave? What issues, challenges do you have? Do you have a health challenge? Do you have a time challenge? Or do you have a financial challenge? We find that out right away through our peaking and pre-qualifying stage. By the time someone joins us, Gerrit, they will already be peaked and pre-qualified. And again, I always teach, find 2 people like you or better than you, meaning that we're on the same frequency. Our entire organization understands I don't want to work with people that don't want what I want and don't have the time to do what I want. So that means we're pre-qualifying better. That is a real difference than just talking to anybody off the streets. And we don't teach that. We just really teach proper pre-qualification. And that has kind of transitioned over to now, again, having so many people that know exactly what to do, when to do it. And because we only have 2 websites, we have a landing website where everybody can get information from, okay? Which is our landing page. And then we also have a biz site where everybody can learn how to build a business all on one site. So what we're doing, Gerrit, is we're never confusing the brand new people on go to this, go to 10 other sites to find information, go to 5 other sites to find out how to build things. It's just on 2, the landing and the biz site. And those 2 sites are constantly evolving, Gerrit. It is a live site. So even if you look at our landing site, literally that took almost 4 years of content, real people, real results. And then David, the company itself, David is constantly updating with new technology, new patents coming out, new videos. He's speaking at different events. So David is constantly evolving himself, which we add on our website. So our website is so good. It is a community built website. It is not one person running the whole site, but it is our entire organization has input into that site. And one thing that we're really good at is we're really good at listening to the field, Gerrit. We constantly talk to our leaders again. We talk to the brand new manager. We talk to the brand new director, right? Whoever has any challenges, we physically listen to them. We try to find out, is that a good proposal or not? And if it's something good, we apply it. Something that works, we do. Anything that doesn't work, we don't. But as a team, we cohesively are constantly on the same page, making decisions together. And that's what kept us so close, Gerrit, to move through this.
I love the idea of how you're basically building these layers of communication within the team. So basically, it's like you say, it's not one leader that's at the top demanding what everyone does, but it's now a community page. For like, let's use your website as an example. Your landing page. It's now something that when people find good practices or have good things, or maybe as we evolve, we see that maybe doing things a certain way are going to work better. You can evolve with it, listening to your team and sharing that, and then making those changes then also helps build that unity within the team to say, hey, our leaders listen to us. They're supporting us. They're giving us the time to be able to say, hey, I think maybe we could make some tweaks and make it a little bit better. And then when you do it, then leads to how now they're invested in it because they've helped to create it, And so I think there's so much wisdom in the way you've explained that, and it certainly does want to help build that unity within the team of wanting to be able to be part of that. So, how do you ensure though that as you build these leaders, how do you ensure that they continue to convey that heart-to-heart message throughout the community?
The only way I can say nothing is ever for sure. We don't know. But I believe because of our hearts, I believe because we've shown to our community how we care for them without talking. We physically show up. We go into our markets, Gerrit, like Houston, Florida, Alaska, Idaho. We go into our markets. We show support by actually being there for them. but we just keep our message the same. And as leaders grow, so when you start developing leaders and leaders start making an income, life-changing income here, and they don't have to work harder, they have a balanced life, they can physically build a large organizations, but as they get bigger, they're physically not working harder, Gerrit, right? Then people stay with you. And it's just like this in any corporation, right? If you're constantly creating a balanced culture within a culture like LifeWave, if David keeps on creating tools that will make it easier for the management team, right, to run, and the management team can support our leadership team in the field, and our leadership team can support our builders that are constantly building. If we're saying one thing and we deliver that and people can see it, feel it, and touch it without any hiccups or yo-yos or changing systems 1 month and then trying to change another system next 6 months and trying to confuse the team, it's the consistency that keeps our leaders here. And at the end of the day, you just got to show up. Marcy and I, if you look at, since day one we came here, Gerrit, we have never taken a day off. We are constantly working. Now, are we working less today and smarter today than we did last year, the year before, the year before? Yes, because we literally have leaders taking over our roles now. We have leaders that are doing the podcast for us. We have leaders that are doing the Dr. Stacy, Dr. Harmon runs the medical calls. We have business calls. Marcy runs the training calls. I focus on building systems constantly. We have a full running train that is, everybody knows their role and everybody just wants to get to the finish line, which is what? Graduate. Graduate at your own time. We have people that graduated in 5 months, 6 months, 8 months. We have people that might take 4 years. We don't put the pressure on them. We don't care. We just want you to be on the product, get yourself healthy, learn a different lifestyle, learn some skill sets that you can apply into your life, take back control of your health, take back control of your life, and be part of a community. Everybody needs to be part of a community in today's times. If you're not part of any community, there's something wrong, okay? You cannot live in this world today. We need to take care of each other, but we also need to trust. We need to navigate. Cannot be no ego, lying, cheating, stealing, and anything that we do in the corporate world and in the network marketing world and in the traditional world. People understand frequencies more than ever today, right, Gerrit? People understand and they can read you, okay? They understand energy. If you have a good energy, everything's good, okay? So, and we prove it. We're gonna even prove it even more. By the time convention come, you will see how big Team Evolve is. You will feel the good energies coming from our entire organization, as we've done it for every single convention that we've been here. And this is gonna be our 4th convention here in this October.
That's incredible. And I want to kind of talk about something you mentioned there, because we talked a minute ago about the importance of evolving and maybe adjusting a few things here and there within the team. But one of the things you also talked about there in that last one is making sure you're not doing that yo-yo approach, where today we're here, tomorrow we're there, now tomorrow we're going to go this way, right? It's just this constant movement. And I've certainly seen that within my experience within this industry, is that, hey, this looks like it's working good today, and then tomorrow, oh, I'm going to jump over and try that, and let's try this the next day, and it becomes confusing. And when people are confused, they don't do anything, right? And so that's where, certainly it's perfectly okay to make these little adjustments, but it's not changing the whole system every other month to make sure that we're meeting all these other opinions or feelings out there too. And so there really has to be more of that balance. But I think as long as people feel that they're heard, they're able to share that, get that information, feel confident with it, then they'll be able to run with it, and they feel that unity within the community. And certainly, I'm really excited to see how things do evolve as we get closer to convention within that team. Certainly, there is a lot of excitement, that's going on right now.
Get ready, Gerrit. And I actually want to piggyback a little bit more. And I'll give you an example how this looks like. Every promotion, the company is going through right now a ranking promotion, right? Where you have to hit a rank. And then once you hit a rank as an executive presidential director, you have to maintain that rank, right, Gerrit? So being a yo-yo is we don't buy our ranks. We don't push ranks. But when somebody hits a rank, we have 2 or 3 people that are maintaining the week, next week, this week, because it's been organically grown into that rank. And that's how you can take advantage of the rank bonus, right? Because we will take the full 2,500, 5,000, or 10,000, whatever it is, because we don't have to push it because the teams behind them are pushing that organically every single week because that's all we do. And I teach this constantly. I teach our teams how to recognize behaviors. What is in the industry? What is going on? I'm very transparent with our bodybuilders and our workout buddies because I want them to know you're not going to be able to shoot steroids forever. You're going to have to learn how to build muscles once in your lifetime. So if this is your last hoorah-rah, hee-rah-rah, then let this company be the last one for you. If LifeWave has been here for 19 years already, staking the ground, take advantage for the next 19 years, 40 years, right, Gerrit? Let this be your last company. And we teach and preach this all the time. So we walk the talk, we teach what we preach every single day.
And I love that concept of not seeing that I'm going to hit this big rank and then the next month I'm going to drop back because I put all my eggs in one basket and now I'm going to drop back and seeing that kind of that spiking up and down. And so actually when we see that and sometimes we do see that as from the corporate side as well, and I'm not necessarily here at LifeWave, but I have certainly seen it throughout my career. And that a market, even though they might be maintaining an average, sales rate, but if the average is looking like this, and it's somewhere in the middle, there's something really unhealthy with that, right? And so we gotta find out where the problems are and fix it. And so I love the fact that when you hit a rank, you maintain a rank, and I've certainly have seen that specifically within your organization, but also at other organizations within this company. And I love that the fact that we have that as it builds, we're not just hitting their wants, but we're maintaining it afterwards. And when we see that maintenance volume continually come in and week out, we know that the residual is going to be there, to help build that, but also that it just goes into every other aspect of the compensation plan. So one of the things I'm really curious and kind of as we take a look and as we're kind of building towards, let's say, convention, we're looking at kind of what our next few months are going to look like. Would you mind, maybe sharing a little bit what your day-to-day activities look like? So as we kind of go into that time frame, gives kind of everyone an idea of what Peter No does to be able to keep that day-to-day activities.
I'm gonna have to charge you $1 million for this advice, but no, I love to share. And I actually, we're so transparent, Gerrit, that our system is an open system. We have tons of leaders that I communicate with all around the world that are not even in my lines, Marcy's lines. We share information. We love to be open, okay? So the one thing how I operate and now how I run my organizations, I run it like a corporation. I run my business every 90 days, Gerrit. Every 90 days, I call it a rinse and repeat, reflect and assess. In my organization, if you're doing the daily routines, the 333, PPP, if you're plugging into all our patching podcasts, if you're plugging into our trainings, literally you will be online with us for about 5 hours a week. That's it, okay? The other 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week, that is literally going into the field, talking to people, doing your things, connecting with people. So I teach my teams every 90 days, where are you? What are you doing? For myself, again, I'm not adding new things to the protocol, right, Gerrit? But now I'm getting to add 2 more things that I'm very excited about, which is called our Wealth Podcast because we have so many health podcasts. I'm getting ready to add our wealth podcast in, okay? And you will see what that is, where we literally can get to connect, physically connect with every single ranks in our business, and you get to know who they are, where did they come from, and then we interview them just like our health podcast. And we have thousands of those. Now we're gonna transition into that. Also, because I come from a beauty background, you're gonna get to see a lot of industry background podcast interviews coming up very soon. I don't wanna let some information out of the bag, but the way I'm operating now is because, again, more leaders are coming up in our organization. It literally lets me sit back now and be more creative, okay? So Marcy and I are always coming up with creative ways to enhance, to involve our organizations and keeping it more simpler. We're working on our biz site to create more simplicity, making it really video driven now through technology because we have so much content. So those are my daily behaviors. The next thing is in the next 90 days, we're really just focusing on simplifying our messaging even more by keeping it more simple. To me, focus on the convention. How do you teach each other? How are you developing more deeply, week by week, into your generations? Are you recognizing who your two key leaders are? Who are your two managers? Who are your two directors? Those are the two most important ranks because that will define your senior director, that will support and push up volume to the executive, presidentials, and senior presidentials. I constantly go into my teams and figure out who's your two, who's your two. If you can't answer that, we're gonna go into that. Get it? Are you plugging into the podcast more? How much time can you give us? Can you give me the extra hour a week or 2 hours a week? What are we gonna do together? Are we gonna reteach you how to peak better, how to pre-qualify better, right? So though it's so defined here, Gerrit, in our system, we can literally pinpoint everybody, what they're doing and what they're not doing to get to where they need to be or where they're not there yet. It is so defined here.
I love that, and I love it when you can help anybody that you're working with to figure out who are your two, because it really can be that simple. Who are your two managers? Who are your two directors? Which then opens up so much more as that volume continues to grow within the team, and then the sky's the limit on the ranks that they can achieve once they can at least get those two directors. Of course, you want them to be, even more than that, but that certainly is going to be that key element as they continue to grow. And again, it's not just getting them to director, it's helping them maintain it so that they stay with it and they continually are able to maintain that without even needing to think about it, right? Because it's the worst is when you're constantly worried every single month, who's going to be my director, or who am I going to get to be able to get them back to where they need to be, versus I have confidence in these people that they're going to continually maintain it. And I think that there's so much power in that.
The hardest thing, Gerrit, to myself is literally reprogramming what they've learned in the industry. For the first time, when people come here, they can feel that they're learning skill sets. They're learning how to connect with their people that they're talking to. The one thing that I do want to add is when somebody comes in, we teach them how to protect their database. We never teach people how to run through their database, burn through them by ignorance on fire. There is no such thing as ignorance on fire here. You gotta know what to say, what to send, and we will teach you that. Just like if you were to go to a gym, Gerrit, I cannot teach you how to pick up a 100-pound dumbbell if you've never picked up a 10-pound dumbbell. You're gonna hurt yourself. And unfortunately, there are many companies, the industry, there are leaders that are just teaching people that are hurting brand new people that are coming into their teams, and that you can never reverse that. Once you have a bad taste in that, or you don't get results as you promised, it can backfire. And we've seen that over and over and over again. One thing about here is there is no time frame. You learn as you go. The ranks only defines how many people you've helped. It is not A rank here does not define how much money you made, how big you are. That doesn't matter to us. A rank defines how many people you have personally developed and how many people they have personally developed as you move up the rank. That is what a rank means to us here on Team Evolve in our teams.
I love that. So it's developing people is the focus, not the rank in and of itself. And so understanding that development really helped. And I also, something you said there almost gave me goosebumps because of I should say almost, it did give me goosebumps. The concept of that every contact that you have is valuable. And we don't want to just, treat it insignificantly. Hey, just go talk to everyone. Let's see where you go with it. But let's teach you the basic the best practices to be able to have the best result with that person. At least he could still say no, obviously, but the point is we gave him the best opportunity versus just, and that concept of ignorance on fire, I certainly see value in the concept, but I also understand we don't want to burn up our contact list either. No. And so there's certainly, and so I love that vision. And I know when we talked about that the other day as we were prepping for this webinar, that's something that really stuck out to me is the value of every single contact that you have. When you look at your phone, everyone has so many, and I can't remember the number, but I want to say it was like the average person has 200 contacts on their phone, maybe more. In fact, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure mine would be more than 200. But the point being, every single one of those people is a contact and they have a certain amount of value. And when you actually look and you take the top income earner at the biggest company in our industry, how valuable was their contact list? And for them, of course, we could be talking about millions and millions a year, and it can actually be the same for everybody, but you have to take it serious and actually understand what the value of that list is. And so I'm really glad you really touched on that, because I think that is actually a very powerful tool to understand is about how significant those people are that and that you, in most cases, you hopefully care about, that you want to see those benefits and really understand what we can do, as we go, as they have their own experience within this company. So you mentioned kind of the importance of helping people to develop and to grow and to create their own stories, So can you kind of explain how you encourage and support individuals so that as they not only they create the stories, but they're able to share those amazing stories within your team? Because it sounds like you purposely are building your organization around that concept of not only having success, but now sharing it.
Again, because of our platform, because of our testimonial podcast, because of all the leaders that are developing their private trainings with us, we give a lot of our organizations, a lot of our partners an opportunity to be listened to. We give them a platform where they can speak. And what we do is we do it through recognizing behaviors. Does that make sense? We just don't let anybody come up if you haven't done this yet, okay? So that means when we do recognize someone, they already have developed a health story. So everybody that shares on our testimonial call, they have to have an experience first, not a money experience. Not, I just came in and I enrolled 4 people and they became managers, but they had nothing to do with the health yet. All these people have to have 4 health experience. And then when they share this, when, for example, their enroller gets on a podcast with us, and then they get to see, oh my God, that's my enroller. And they get to hear their story of who they are, where they're from, what challenges they have, and then how the technology helped them get their time back, their health back. Now they can create a living. And then later, 3 months later, Gerrit, they'd be recognized as a director. And then the person, their team goes, that's my sponsor. I saw them from when they couldn't even walk, and now they're a director now. And now the life changed. And then they use their recording constantly to share that out. We're literally creating superstars. We're creating people that are interviewed, and we're creating it into the thousands. Now, Our testimonial podcast today, every day, Gerrit, we're talking about 250 to 400 people plug in on a daily basis. If you times that on a 7-day schedule, we literally have 3,000 to 5,000 people that are constantly learning, absorbing, building confidence, seeing other all walks of life on that screen. Whether you're a 90-year-old retired Mary Faye, down to an 18-year-old John, right? Just came out of high school, or down to a lawyer, a doctor, a tennis player. We have every single walk of life constantly seeing a community that is growing. I'm gonna kind of take it back to when we're during the COVID days, Gerrit. I can't even tell you how many people called me. They're like, Peter, I don't build a business like you. I'm not a manager, but I cannot tell you, you know, every day seeing all these smiling faces and hearing these stories, you don't mind us just plugging in and just getting on the calls, right? Even though we're not building the business, right? I'm like, sure. You know, this is what we love to do, right, Gerrit? This is like showing the light. And again, this is what I call, to me, is the most organic thing, whether you're building the business or not. Our team's philosophy is we just want you on the technology. We want you to come to our gym and just see people. If one day we can inspire you, if one day we can influence you to just make a difference and start sharing, and we're gonna make it as simple as possible for you to do it, that means every one person that joins our ID number is someone valuable. You never know if they're gonna be a April, Mary Lou, Mariah, Savi, get it? Sally, Suzanne, we don't know who they are, but one day they will be that. So, or our Carol, okay? My favorite person is Carol McDonald. If you have an 80-year-old grandmother who's built to almost a senior presidential level, and her daughter, Juliana Coles, is already a senior presidential, when you can have a mother and daughter team, and she cannot go out and do hotel meetings, she cannot drive across the country, but she can definitely be at home and make phone calls and call all her senior friends around in Arizona and get them on a call and produce this kind of level of income that is changing her life. That is those kind of stories, Gerrit, that we share all day. And people get inspired by hearing this.
You know, and I mentioned on our SPD call this last week, the importance of stories and how stories really do, you know, it's the stories that win. The facts tell, but stories sell. It's the stories that really connect with people on that heart-to-heart level. So the more we can share those, the more of an impact. You know, as we kind of wrap things up today, Peter, I want to, first of all, congratulate you on almost your 4-year anniversary. We're so excited that you've been here for that long and have been investing, not just in LifeWave, but in your team. But as we've gone through that time frame that you've been here in those 4 years, what are some of those key things, and maybe it's the evolution that you've even seen within the organization, within the company of LifeWave, that you've seen over that same time period?
In the last 4 years, again, the one thing that attracted me here is consistency. David has always stuck and stayed his course. He has not changed himself, but what he has done is he has made decisions on what can help the company grow. And if the people are not aligned in the same vision as him, then changes have been made. I love that he makes those decisions. That keeps our company on course. That is my one thing. Second thing is he has done everything to invest into the company, down to hiring the right people to get to where he needs to be. The vision is to what? Going to 1 billion homes, right? Around the world, because we have 7.6 billion people that have cells that we need to get to, right? So I just love that he does that. On top of that, we all know that David is a scientist. He has so much more technology that I know that you and I will never know yet until it's patent. So I don't want to know what's going on because that will be too much for me. But I love that we are a forward-moving, technology-driven, people-focused company, okay? You can totally tell through the culture, through the compensation plan. Now, are things gonna change in the future? Of course they are. Things constantly have to evolve. Our compensation plan might evolve, right? Our companies just keep on growing. There might be offices more around the world. There are gonna be changes in leadership. There's gonna be changes in everything. But what I want and what I pray here every day is that the leader of the ship will constantly stay the same and will guide and take this company to where it needs to be. I truly believe that this technology and David Schmidt and our leadership here, united as one, can make this company the first of its kind, not in the billions, but I'm just saying the first of its kind to attract the most amount of leaders, to have the best lifestyle possible as a leader and as a builder in this organization, in this company. And that's what I love about LifeWave, Gerrit. It's only been 4 years, so the last 4 years has kind of been a blur to us because Marcy and I just constantly stick to our thing. We just let the company, everybody has a role on our team, and we believe everybody has a role in the company. As long as everybody comes in with the pure intention of just making this the lightest, best company in the world, then I think we all have a big role to play in this industry and in the world, because the world needs us right now.
And I love that statement. The world needs us right now, and they certainly do. And when we look at that forward thinking, that technology, everything that David is trying to achieve, it's now our opportunity to make sure we're in a position that we're ready to run with it when it does come. And we know that things are coming. They always do. Knowing David, he's always got something up his sleeve. But and we also know that as it happens and as it evolves, it's just going to continue to make a better and better opportunity for each of us. Well, Peter, I want to thank you so much for being on with us today. Normally we like to take questions, but we're literally at the top of the hour, and I don't think we really have time to go through too much. But I also think you've given so much information, so much understanding, more so than and so willing to share so much of what you do, that I think it speaks volumes about your heart and what you're all about, and that you're willing to help build leaders heart to heart, even if they're not in your organization. You've proven that over time. And so we want to honor you and thank you for your willingness to be able to do that and make the sacrifices that you have to be part of this amazing story that we're creating here at LifeWave. And you're certainly an integral part of that. I remember one of my first days at the company was actually at convention, and we were all on stage. And we had all the SPDs on stage, and we were recognizing the new SPDs. So we had all the SPDs standing behind us, and we had the new people coming up. And I'm telling you, you were just as excited about all the new SPDs coming up, I think, as anybody in the whole room, because we couldn't keep you still on the stage. You're constantly moving on, trying to say hi to everyone, congratulating everyone. And I think that speaks volumes about who you are, that connection that you love to make, with everyone, regardless of team and everything else. So we do honor you. We do respect everything that you're doing for us. And we, again, thank you so much for being on with us today.
Gerrit, it's been a pleasure. It's been amazing just to watch you. And now we have new members on, like Geraldo, and I've had the pleasure of working with Geraldo over 10 years ago. Even Meredith, I had the pleasure of working with Meredith over 15 years ago. So I believe it's almost like divine timing as things are growing. The right people are coming into this place. If anybody watches this recording, if you're brand new, if you're just checking us out, if you just want to see the heartbeat of our company, get to know our leadership team, get to know this company very well, and I believe you have found a home. So, Gerrit, thank you so much for inviting me on this LifeWave Connect. It's been a pleasure to be speaking and sharing this information with everyone here, and I look forward to seeing everybody and hugging everybody at convention.
Love it. Well, thank you all for being on today with us, and we look forward to catching up with all of you very soon, and if not sooner, we'll definitely see you at your convention. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing day.